Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Comic Vantage. And today we have a special episode. Today I'm going to go through the top 50 books in my collection. This is a video I was doing pretty much once a year, but I have not done it the last couple years because, life gets in the way and stuff. So I figured I'd bust it out again this year. We're coming up to the end of 2023. It's been a fun year, and it's great to see how my tastes have changed. I love going back and rewatching the older ones and seeing what books make the list, what books do not, new books that are on here, old books that have come off. So, this is actually it's a lot of fun for me. This started out as somebody did a contest on one of their YouTube channels like 5 or 6 years ago, saying, "Hey, make a video, show me your top 50." And I started doing that. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this every year just to see what how things evolve. So let's get started. First up, we have a nice big old cup of coffee. Hmm. It's funny too, because when you talk top 50 books in your comic collection, most people go right to Grails and keys and things like that. I actually had someone comment a few years ago on one of the videos saying, "I hope this isn't a list of like dollar books or whatever." You know what? This is my list, and to me, my top 50 doesn't mean Grails and keys. It means books that mean something to me. They have stories behind them, or they evoke some sort of emotion, and just they mean something. Not necessarily like the first appearance of whoever, but some of these books do have first appearances of whoever. So, like I said, let's get started. First book, right on the top of the list. The reason I'm doing this, I mean, these are in no particular order, from like 1 to 50. These aren't like, my favorite children or anything. Uh, I just, they all have some sort of meaning. This book in particular, now this actually is a grail and a key. This is Love and Rockets #1. If you guys don't know what this is one of the very first. It's one of the adult-oriented books that really went kind of mainstream. Hernandez brothers came out of nowhere with this book. Everybody loved it, and it was this book in particular that gave companies like DC the well, the bravery to take a chance on the Vertigo imprint essentially, and other companies like that to realize that adults wanted to read comic books as well, because this is not for children. So this really is a great book to own. It is a first printing, which some of you out there might be jealous about. Haha. Absolutely, this is a book I've wanted. I wanted this book since the '90s and can never get a hold of it because it was hard to find underground comics like this back in the '90s. And I picked it up I think within the last 5 or 6 years or so, and it has not left my collection. Usually my collection has a big turnover because I usually only keep about a short box personally. So this is a mainstay. Oh, actually, speaking of books that stay in my collection, there's one book on this list that I wanted to show you guys, and I can't find it. And that's Transformers #1. I am kicking myself in the butt. I don't know where it's at. I moved about a year ago, and it was one of the books I had in a gator guard hanging on my wall. So it's probably still packed away somewhere. But yeah, Transformers #1 should be on this list. But since it's not, I'm going to stick up G.I. Joe #1. Now, some of you may not realize that this is actually a G.I. Joe #1, the digest size. G.I. Joe Comics Magazine. It is a reprint of issue #1. There were a bunch of these digest magazine size, and it's just so much fun. That's why I'd rather show this than an actual G.I. Joe #1, which I do have in my collection. There's a bunch they did. And the other one I have in my collection is the silent issue with Snake Eyes. These are just so much fun. And like I said, a lot of people might not know what these are, so I figured I'd show this instead. Stick that over there. All right, this is a recent addition to my list, and this is Neighbors issue #1, the Franny one per store variant cover. I am just absolutely in love with Franny artwork recently. I can't get enough of it. Everything she's been putting out, I've been grabbing. I mean, this woman here could have. She was kind of poised to be sort of the next Peach Momoko a few years back. And then I think it was Boom Comics who put her on a contract, kind of like, Marvel snatching up Peach and putting her on an exclusive contract, but then they never did anything with her. It's like her artwork just stopped, and it kind of killed the momentum that she was building up. But now, more books are starting to come out with her on it, so. Yeah, more coffee. Anyway, that's another good book. Okay, here's a fun book. Spiral Zone issue #1 coming at you from the '80s. I absolutely adored Spiral Zone back in the day. I could still hear the theme song every time I look at this cover. So yes, like I said, these books mean something to me when I show you. I mean, you could probably get this book for between $5 and $10 on eBay. It is not a key. It is not a grail. You know, a lot of people don't even know what Spiral Zone is. I loved this cartoon so much back in the day that I sat at the TV one morning before school with a tape recorder and recorded the theme song off the television so I could listen to it. All right, next up, Machine Man, issue number 2. Now, this is the, oh man, Barry Windsor Smith artwork. I absolutely adore Barry Windsor Smith, and he actually makes this list a few times. I put issue number 2 in here because specifically it is the first appearance of Iron Man 2020, which was all the rage a couple years back. Anyway, there are 4 different covers to this, and each one is Machine Man deconstructed until he's completely full, or in the opposite direction, however you look at it. So cool. I love Barry Windsor Smith. Gargoyles, issue number 9, I think this is. Am I saying that correctly? Yes, issue number 9. Sorry about that. This is the Amanda Connor cover. Amanda Connor, Jimmy Palmiotti together. What a great duo. And I mean, that cover is just absolutely gorgeous. That's the only reason I own that. I've wanted this book for such a long time and finally got a chance to pick it up at a great price. It's beautiful. I mean, Demona is absolutely amazing character. Love her to death. Gargoyles is making a resurgence. Really coming out. So, speaking of the Gargoyle resurgence, Gargoyles issue number 1. Now, this is the Dynamite Facsimile edition. We got the Joe Mad cover. Gotta love that. I showed this one specifically and not the original because I love this purple foil logo. Oh, I mean, seriously, nothing screams 90s like purple foil. And I love the black box they have in here because the original Marvel logo or UPC code would go in there. Absolutely beautiful. All right, what do we got next? Oh, here we go. Look at this. Evil Ernie and Comic Vantage versus the Furminati. My buddy Squatchy Comics drew this for me as a gift. I love this book. Squatchy Comics is such an amazing writer. Or, I mean, sorry, not writer, artist. Although he is a writer because he did write the Squatchy and Foo comic books. Absolutely beautiful artwork. He does a lot of great books, commissions. He does paintings, all kinds of stuff. If you guys are ever interested in getting a commission or checking out his artwork, definitely check out Squatchy Comics on Instagram and give him a follow on YouTube as well. He puts a lot of process videos up and stuff. So, huge shout out to Squatchy Comics, my buddy there. Great artwork. Next up, the Spirits of Venom, Ghost Rider and Blaze, issue number 6. And I grabbed this just for that Adam Kubert cover. The coloring's a little dark on here, but man, that is gorgeous. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Beautiful. I loved this cover so much back in the 90s. I had a poster of this hanging on my wall. Cannot remember where I got it from. Don't even know what happened to it, but man, I loved it. It's huge. Maybe I picked it up at Spencer's or something years ago. I don't remember. All right. Next up on our list, Batman, issue number 125, the Warren Lau Catwoman cover. Do you guys see that? Oh man, it's beautiful. Look at that cover. Now, this one in particular is the foil variant. That's why it's so shiny and kind of hard to see. This was a New York Comic Con exclusive. Absolutely beautiful cover. I had to own this. Oh, there, that's a good shot. Hey, and there's me. So, yeah, kind of hard to see, but very cool. This is a book I just grabbed recently, and this is the Transformers issue number 5 with this iconic Are All Dead cover. Absolutely beautiful. Everybody has probably seen this cover. Like I said, issue number 1 made the list, and then this one popped on too. Just because I love it. I love it oh so much. Brand new appreciation for this cover. I'm not really sure why it's hitting me lately, but it is. Anyway, and this is Barbarians, I believe. Oh, let me double check. I think that's what it's called. But anyway, I grabbed this just for that Brian Haberlin Virgin cover. And I've really digging Brian Haberlin work recently. Oh, the last Barbarian, issue number 1. Sorry about that. This is a virgin variant, but contrary to most virgin variants lately, it was an equal ratio, so it was just cover price. But Brian Haberlin work lately, I've been following him on Instagram, and man, it's just really, oh, it's really amazing. I absolutely love it. It's gorgeous artwork, beautiful. I mean, look at this. Just beautiful, beautiful work. You can actually beat that for cover price, I'll tell you what. All right. Voltron, issue number 1. Now, right up there with Transformers, Voltron is really super high on my list for, hitting me right in the nostalgia. Absolutely Voltron. I loved watching this as a kid. I even had the smaller lions. I never had the big ones, the Panache place that had all the figures you can put in. But, I still really loved playing with Voltron back in the day. Still, absolutely gorgeous. Next up, Generation X, issue number 1. Man, I was right there when this book came out. My generation is Generation X, so this really screamed to us back in the 90s when it came out. And I was a late teenager, I believe, when this hit. And this actually started my love with Chris Bachalo artwork as well. So I've been pretty much going back and grabbing a lot of his stuff. Absolutely amazing, gorgeous book. I love the chromium. Man, I wish people still did chromium covers. It's so hard to find anybody. I don't think anyone's done a chromium cover in the last 20 years. Oh, it'd be so much fun. Speaking of chromium covers, my first chromium cover I ever purchased, Lady Death, issue number 1. And man, I also remember when this book came out. I was a little late to the party, so back in the 90s when this came out, I believe it was 94 when I purchased it. Maybe 95, but I'm pretty sure it was 90. Yeah, no, it must have been 95. Because I ended up paying $30 for this book when it came out back then. It's even so much cheaper now. Although her first appearance in Evil Ernie is skyrocketing. I always thought she looked like Drew Barrymore in that cover, too. Okay, next up. Rune, issue number 1. Again, Barry Windsor Smith. Now, this one here. Signed by Barry Windsor Smith. Oh, Barry Windsor Smith, it's hard to get his autograph. He doesn't sign anything. But I got 2. Yes. Ooh. Now, this one here in particular, no COA, no numbering, so I'm not really sure. I mean, I can just see that that's Barry Windsor Smith. But this one here, he actually signed 10,000 copies of this book for Dynamic Forces back in the day with a COA. So signed and numbered by Barry Windsor Smith. So happy to have that in my collection. And I'd love to meet Barry Windsor Smith. That guy's a genius. All right, next up on my list, Darker Image. Now, this book here, man, when this book came out, I don't know why I loved this book so much, but I still do whenever I see a copy. I mean, I've probably had 200 or 300 copies of this book float through my hands. I've put them in mystery boxes. I've passed them off to people. I've sold them. I've kept a few for myself. This one in particular because it is a newsstand copy. Man, when I first started buying this book, it was like $1.25 I was paying for it, and now it's really kind of shot up. And not to mention some of the exclusives, like this one here, the silver foil or the platinum cover. There's also a gold edition of this that were given to retailers when you bought so many copies back in the day. Absolutely amazing. I love both of these. So cool. Fatal Attractions, the death of a dream in this, the final battle. Oh, wow, the hologram really shows up great in the camera there. Oh, man, let's see if I can get it to... Nope, gone, lost it. Oh, there we go. I mean, this was the 90s right here, people. This was the 90s. Absolutely beautiful, gorgeous. That hologram is amazing. This is the issue where Magneto lifts Wolverine in the air and rips every piece of adamantium out of his body, and Xavier shuts his brain off. Oh, so awesome. Absolutely love this book. This was such a great read back in the day. And Andy Kubert, man, Andy Kubert was him and his brother Adam were both kind of coming on, or they're sort of riding on the coattails of some of the bigger artists that were on their books beforehand. Like right now, Jim Lee was just finishing up with this book. Andy Kubert's coming in, so Marvel just sort of wanted a Jim Lee clone, which is kind of what they got in him. But Andy Kubert's artwork has really evolved over the years, and he's kind of come into his own. And him and his brother Adam, I mean, both their artwork really looks like their dad now, but that's not a bad thing. Joe Kubert is a master. So I really appreciate and can see the evolution of his artwork and where it's come to. So beautiful. All right, here's one some of you guys probably never heard of: Betrothed, issue number 1 from Aftershock Comics. This came out about 5 years ago. This whole series, it's like a 5-issue miniseries. One of the best reads I have ever read in comic books. I mean, if you guys have not seen this book, you can get it dirt cheap. Just do yourself a favor and grab it and read it. The story is absolutely amazing. All right, so here's one. If you guys want a key, X-Men number 266, the first full appearance of Gambit. Yes, so here's a key, here's a grail. There you go. Maybe that'll satisfy some of your needs out there. Like I said, first appearance of Gambit. Everybody knows that. I bought this book for the first time, probably again in like 1994, I believe it was. And I paid $30 for it back then. So, and again, Andy Kubert artwork. So you can kind of see where his artwork went from this style, which is more like his dad's, to sort of like Jim Lee with all the sharp lines. Because like I said, Marvel was just kind of looking for a Jim Lee clone back then. I mean, every book they wanted a Jim Lee clone on because they had just lost him. And now it's sort of progressed back to this, more of the Joe Kubert look. So, and kind of it's sort of a blend between the two now, which is really, really cool to see. Well, I'm actually glad I have all these books up here to tell you guys that. All right, let's see what we got next. Here's another more modern book on my list, and this is Venom number 3, and I believe this is the Francisco Mattina cover. Man, this is absolutely gorgeous. But the funny thing is that it almost looks like it should be upside down. You see the way the symbiote's kind of oozing off of him there? And it really reminds me, you know what? Where are you? There we go. And it really reminds me of this. I guess I should have put these guys side to side. Look at that. Tell me that's kind of not like a swipe. Now, I know this one's not supposed to be upside down because the drool goes that way, but seriously, look at that. There we go. Man, I love doing this. This is so much fun for me, guys. You have no idea. All right, so we're going to keep both those together there. All right. Oh, hey, we're back to Lady Death. Now, this one here is Lady Death. Now, this is supposed to be issue number 1, which is a... Why did I not keep you guys together? Like I said, these are in no particular order, so I kind of screwed up. It's supposed to be a reprint of this one. But this is the cover of issue number 3. This is the Euro variant. That's why. And they redid the covers. This cover never showed up in the European variants. The other two, issues number 2 and 3, I put in my mystery boxes, so I don't have them. But I wanted to keep this one because this is my favorite cover. I mean, I love the flow of the hair. I love all the fire. Everything. It's just, this is absolutely gorgeous work right here. And the Euro variants are foil. You see that? So when I saw this, I had no idea this existed until recently, and I saw them, and I was like, yes, please. And I jumped on these books. So there we go. That's a good one there. All right. Marvels, issue number 2. This is when Alex Ross was really making a name for himself in comics. I didn't buy the first issue, but I bought the second one because it had the X-Men in it, and I wanted to read the story. So this is book 204. Unbeknownst to me at the time, issue number 2 became the hot book in the series. Wizard Magazine at the time cited because number 2 books are always ordered less than number 1s, so there was a lower print run of it. And the subject matter of the X-Men really shot it up in value, because at the time in the 90s, the X-Men were so hot. And I cannot wait for that to come back again with the new cartoon and everything else they are doing. So, absolutely gorgeous. I love the acetate cover, another 90s creation going on there, and the fully painted Alex Ross artwork through the whole thing. Not to mention an amazing read as well. Yeah, this cover here kind of gets you in the feels too. With Angel carrying away the little mutant girl from this angry mob. Oh, another Uncanny X-Men book coming at you. Uncanny X-Men number 314, Early Frost. This book here, two reasons I own this book. The first is Bill Sienkiewicz artwork. Ooh, boy, do I love Bill Sienkiewicz artwork. The second reason, the story. The story is absolutely amazing. It's one of the best reads you are ever going to read, and it's actually rather amusing here. I met Scott Lobdell years ago at a Comic-Con, and he had no one in line, so I just walked up and I showed him this book. And he's like, "You want to hear a really interesting story about this book?" And I was like, "Sure, lay it on me." And he said, "Well, at the time when I was writing this, he said I wanted to explore the powers of Iceman." Now, anybody that watches my channel knows Iceman is my favorite mutant. Absolutely love Iceman. Although this is not Iceman, and we'll get to that. And he said, I really wanted to write an Iceman story and start expanding on his powers, and make him do new, just more things than what he was capable of at the time. And Marvel flat out rejected it. Told him, no, you cannot do that. We will not be changing Iceman anytime soon. And he asked him, he's like, why? Their response was they had a new toy line coming out. And if you screwed with the look or the powers of Iceman, they had a feeling it would confuse the people who were buying the toys because it wouldn't look the same or whatever. Total. And he's like, all right, whatever. So he wrote this. And with this story is Emma Frost coming out of her coma after the death of the Hellions. And her mind psychically takes over Bobby Drake's body and pretty much just goes out into the world and starts using his abilities in ways he never thought possible. This is the first time Iceman was even considered to be an Omega level mutant, with her using his abilities, which actually comes into play later on when Iceman gets hurt really bad and he goes to Emma Frost and asks her how to use his own abilities. So that was interesting. Absolutely love this story. It's great to see, and it was awesome to see Bobby Drake actually really come into his own as an Omega level. All right. Next up, Love Town number 2. And this is brought to us by First Comics and the Yuan twins. I absolutely adore the Yuan twins. They've become really good friends of mine over the years. And it all started with this book right here, me reading it and just absolutely loving the story and the artwork. It's very paranormal, Sin City. It's a great story. If you guys have not read this, you can pick it up really cheap on eBay or even on the First Comics website. This cover in particular, issue number 2, I loved it so much. I purchased the original artwork from them. I don't have it handy because, again, I moved and it's still packed up. If you go back to my previous videos, since I've owned the artwork, this book and that artwork has made an appearance in this video, so you can see it there. Absolutely gorgeous. I love it. I'm honored to call these guys friends and to have their artwork. Whew, all right. Oh, here we go. Now we're going to get into some dirt and grit. Oh, actually, you know what? Let's stick with the Yuan twins. I just saw these books pop up. Okay, here we go. Here is my own Love Town issue number 0, the Comic Vantage exclusive cover. So yes, the Yuan twins were actually kind enough to let me do a exclusive cover to their Love Town number 0. And it was funny because at the time I was like, "Hey guys, is there any way I can use the artwork and do this book and then work with you?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." And they're like, and because I told them I wanted to call it a special edition and not a reprint. And they're like, "You are in luck." They said, "We are getting ready to reprint this in a trade paperback." Now, the entire book is in black and white, but they went through and added splashes of red. And they're like, "You can use that artwork and call it the special edition." And so my first exclusive was born. Now, along with this first exclusive, I also made a good friend here on my cover artist, Priscilla Petrades, who has done Rat Queens for Image Comics. She worked for Hit. She did Hit Me for AWA and a bunch of other books. She's an amazing artist, and we'll get to see some of her artwork again later on. But I want to do a little theme here and actually go through my exclusives because all of my exclusives have to be on this list. Comic Vantage's second exclusive, Rise of Dracula, issue number 3. Now, if any of you guys are interested in my exclusives, they are still for sale on comicvantage.com. Or you can just contact me directly through Instagram or anywhere, or comicvantage@gmail.com. Mm. This is Rise of Dracula number 3 from Source Point Press. And another good friend of mine, Jordan Grimm Porter, pulled off this cover for me. I mean, look at this. Tell me that is just not a thing of beauty. I just gave him a direction and he just went for it, and this came out. I was in awe of this cover. And then just when I thought he couldn't top himself, I did Rise of Dracula issue number 6, a Comic Vantage exclusive. And again, I gave him a character, sort of gave her a backstory to it, and he came out with this. Oh, look at that. It's funny, I sent the artwork over to Source Point Press to get these printed, and everybody just went, wow. They could not believe this cover. It is just absolutely, I mean, that is, oh, that's adorable. I absolutely love it. It's funny because I told him, I want you to model it after Faye Reagan, and he went, oh, hell yes, and just went on with it. That was it. And my last exclusive that I put out for Mount Olympus Comics, I did a Patriotica, and I brought the 90s back. I did a Rolling Stone Janet Jackson homage cover. Look at that. Cover by Lena Dye. She's an absolutely amazing artist. If you guys have not seen her work, and this is my own prototype book, one of one, so no one else has this. If you haven't seen her artwork, definitely check her out on Instagram, Lena Dye, and then also for Jordan here, Grim G21MM over there on Instagram. But I did the logo. Yeah, I supplied it because I wanted it to match the Rolling Stone font from back then. So yeah, that was the last Comic Vantage exclusive. All right, next up. Oh, yeah, now we get into some dirt and grime and grit. Faust, issue number 1. Whoo, boy. The North Star edition. Act 1 of Love and the Damned. This is an absolutely amazing book. Faust really, really, really stoked my love of adult reading comics. I mean, there's sex, violence, blood, gore. The writing, the storytelling, the artwork, everything here, it's absolutely amazing. Spot on. I believe there are 15 or 16 issues of the first series, and then there's been a bunch of different series after that, little spin-offs and things like that. All right, and then next up, from Mark Miller and Jorge Jimenez and Steve McNiven, we have Nemesis Reloaded, issue number 1. This book here, oh, absolutely gorgeous. Now, I love the original Nemesis series. Nemesis Reloaded was pretty much kind of like a small retelling, but really, really good. This cover, though, when this cover was supposed to grace the very first series, but it got a cease and desist from Warner Brothers, if I'm not mistaken, because, the whole Joker sort of look going on. But I guess they were allowed to use it for the second series. And so as soon as I saw this was coming out, I had to own it. It's absolutely beautiful. Steve McNiven is probably one of the greats right now in comics. I believe he is super underrated. More people should be staring at his artwork and, stand up and taking a look because, like I said, I think this guy is going to end up being one of the greats. He's going to be up there with Barry Windsor and, Frank Miller. All right. What would my top 50 list be without the Incredible Condom Man? Now, the Incredible Condom Man. First time I bought this book was back in the 90s. I don't even know. It must have been about 95 again. It was a total joke. I had to own it. It was just so ridiculous. I found it in like a dollar bin of books, which actually probably back then was a quarter bin of books. I think there are 5,000 printed. Every single one is signed and numbered on the back by the artist writer. So when I started selling mystery boxes, I immediately thought of this book. I don't know why, but I thought of this book and I started buying up copies, and I would buy them for like $1 a piece on eBay or wherever else I could find them, and I would stack them in my mystery boxes, and I would label them the holiest of holy grails. It was kind of like the gag box for the season. But Condom Man has taken on a complete life of his own. People hunt these now when I do my mystery boxes. They want one. They want to be in the elusive Condom Man club. Uh, and the prices skyrocketed on eBay. I see these things selling now for between $25 and $60 on eBay. I cannot believe that I darkhawked a book. Started out as a joke, and now it's like, wow, try touching it. So yes, Condom Man will always have a permanent place in my collection. Okay, next up. Oh, Hellshock, issue number 1, the Jay Lee Ash Can. I absolutely adore 90s Jay Lee. Man, I mean, look at this. Look at that. It's dark, it's grimy. I mean, there's just ink splattered everywhere. Jay Lee in the 90s was something special. His artwork now, I mean, yes, it's evolved. I can respect that, but it doesn't have the energy and the power that it once had. I mean, and Hellshock, his own miniseries when it came out, was so much fun to read, and I stared at the artwork for hours and hours, just flipping through it. Keeping on Jay Lee, we got the Wildcats Trilogy, issue number 1. Again, I bought this distinctly for the Jay Lee artwork. And of course, we have a newsstand edition here, which means a lot when you're talking about these early Image books. Now, along with this one, I also have a signed one. Again, signed and numbered Dynamic Forces. They were awesome back in the day for signed comic books. You just got to make sure the number here matches the number on the front of your book. And again, with Jay Lee, I got to show you guys this. Unknown 9 Archives. Now, a lot of people might not have seen this book. This was the free preview book that Dark Horse was giving away at the New York Comic Con about 6 years ago. Signed by Jay Lee. I actually received this as an AOK back then for a gentleman that went to the Comic Con. Unknown 9 was supposed to be this whole multimedia experience. They were releasing comic books, a TV show, a video game, a movie. Huge, 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 huge plans. Fell flat. Never happened. So, making this probably one of the harder to find books that's available out there. I don't know how many were printed, but they don't pop up very often. Yeah, so cool. And actually, along with that, he got me a free preview of the Stranger Things Ashcan comic as well. But this, right there, beautiful. Okay, next up, we are back to more Bill Sienkiewicz with Magneto number 0. I mean, this book screamed at me because of the purple foil back in the day. I had to have it. I found it at a comic book store, and they were selling it for like $10. I remember begging my dad for $10 so I can go and buy it. And he did. He actually let me have the money and ran me out to that store, which was so far away, because my hometown didn't have a lot of good comic book stores. Good coffee. Yeah, so this book actually has a lot of meaning and memories behind it. I still love looking at it, too. All right, next up, we're going to get back to some Lady Death and Evil Ernie. Let me pop this on here. So this is Evil Ernie, The Revenge number 1. Now, this is the special foil edition. I love the Chaos Comics Authentic. You see this, the green foil. And then it's signed in green by the 3 big creators, Brian Pulido, Stephen Hughes, Jason Jensen. I hate that Stephen Hughes, left us so early. Look at that green foil. You see that? Now, the coolest thing about this book is that it does come with a certificate of authenticity. Okay? Which is a barf bag. I have always wanted this book, and I finally found a decent copy. There was only 4,000 printed. or signed at least. They actually, you can get these without the signatures. Only 4,000 printed though, with the barf bag COA. I mean, 1996. Chaos Comics was awesome back in the day for all these gimmicks they had coming out. You gotta love it. Okay. Whew. Man, this list is getting... I think this list is about 40 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm glad if you guys are still sticking with me. We're coming up to a close. One of my favorite comics of all time. X-Men number 11. Now, if this looks a little different, it's because it is the silver foil second printing. Now, second printing, but it was only available through the Pressman board games. It was a mail-away offer. Pressman actually did X-Men board game. I actually owned it back in the day. It was an awesome board game. And it was the only way to get it was through the Pressman comics, or Pressman games. It is a Jim Lee cover. If I'm not mistaken, this is the last Jim Lee cover. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong on that one, for X-Men. I love this cover. I have owned this book, regular, standard, second print, doesn't matter. I've owned it so many times, and I've owned this image on a t-shirt 3 different times over the course of my life. As one wears out, I will find it again. And I found it again recently. Walmart was selling it with this. I was so happy. Actually, I wish I had the shirt in the background. I could show you guys. Oh, wow, what a wasted moment. All right, anyway, we'll move on then because that makes me sad. All right, next up, my buddy Stuart Sager. Now, if you guys also follow my channel or have not, Stuart Sager, man, what a great artist. I absolutely love this guy. It's like Bill Sienkiewicz and Jay Lee had a beautiful love child, and Stuart Sager popped out. His artwork is absolutely amazing. I have 2 books here from him, so I think I might be over 50 or so, but I should be right around there, I think, in my top 50. I've been a Stuart Sager fan since about 2008, I believe it was, when I first met him at a San Diego Comic-Con. He was promoting his Shiver in the Dark comic, and I had to pick it up. I picked it up, and I read it, and I went back the next day and told him how awesome it was and asked him for a sketch, and he actually did a sketch of his character Grace for me. He only charged me $5 for it, which is amazing. I showed it to him recently, and he actually said I was probably the first person that ever got a sketch from him at San Diego Comic-Con. All right, fast forward to this. Now, I don't know if you guys can tell, but this is original artwork. He drew this on here, and he added all these little awesome gemstones. He actually glued them onto the cover. Did this just for me. I don't even know how many sketches I've gotten from this guy over the years. I put him on my mystery boxes. Everybody loves him. This guy is the king of the Joker remark, I'll tell you what. Actually, you know what? I'm going to show you guys the latest remarks I got from him for my mystery boxes. I got my book. Come here, you. All right, first up, he did this awesome Baroness remark on the back cover of a G.I. Joe book. I don't have the front cover to show you, but these are actually all his covers as well. He did a Last Ronin the Lost Years cover. This is actually his cover for this book, and there's the remark. Look at that. And then the Joker, Year of the Villain, issue number 1. This is his cover, and there's his remark. Tell me he is not the king of Joker remarks. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful. All right. So much fun. Absolutely love Stuart Sager. Okay, now the other book is that one right there. He's trying to bring back his Shiver in the Dark series, and he did a whole Kickstarter event where he was promoting it and stuff. Along with that, he printed up a very small print run of the Virgin cover of his book, and he gave it away to his biggest supporters. And this book, I mean, it was an honor and a privilege to be considered one of his biggest supporters when this showed up on my doorstep. He gave them away to people who have, been friends and supported him over the years. So, like I said, this book here, I mean, I just get goosebumps looking at it because I was so happy. I've made a lot of great artist friends over the years, and Stuart Sager is really, really up there on the top of the list. All right, only got 2 books left. Now, I did tell you guys we were getting back to Priscilla Patrades. Kanan the Last Padawan, issue number 1, the first cameo appearance of the Ghost Crew. I absolutely love the Rebels cartoon series, so Kanan the Last Padawan is a no-brainer, especially Sabine Wren, my favorite character. This is original artwork on here as well. So guys, eat your heart out. Priscilla Petrades did this for me. I told her I just wanted a Sabine Wren, and she busted this out. Absolutely beautiful Sabine with the dark saber. So gorgeous. I mean, look at that. It's a beautiful, beautiful cover. I mean, I couldn't ask for anything better. I was flabbergasted when I saw this. And it's funny because I bust it out every so often, every 6 months or so, and post it up on Instagram, and everybody just goes bonkers. Um, it's beautiful. I wish this was a regular cover for this book because, man, I think it would have sold like crazy. Last, but certainly not least, Marvel Comics presents Weapon X number 84. Barry Windsor Smith artwork. I got goosebumps just looking at this cover. I absolutely adore this cover. This cover is called Agony of the Claws. To me, Barry Windsor Smith draws the quintessential Wolverine. And the fun thing is that you flip this over and it's the other half of the cover. So that's why I have this is actually a clear backboard on this so you could see the back cover. I love these clear backboards. I mean, just oh, and I try to use clear tape as well so it doesn't obstruct anything. Absolutely beautiful. It's funny because I've always loved this cover since the moment I saw it as a kid, and I have owned it since then. It's just, I love the entire story, the Weapon X story in Marvel Comics Present. I mean, that origin story just blows me away. Every time I read it, I see it, I look at the artwork, the storytelling. It's just amazing. And it's funny because early 2000s or so, I was at a San Diego Comic Con and I came across Glenn Danzig's booth. Anybody who knows Glenn Danzig knows he's a huge comic book fan. And he used to run booths at San Diego Comic Con selling original artwork. And he had this artwork up on the wall. And now, I mean, I'm a kid back then. I was probably like in my early 20s or so. And I was hanging out and we were talking and I was getting pictures and stuff, just kind of fanboying over Glenn Danzig because I love Danzig and the Misfits. And I happened to see this and I looked up and I said, just for laughs, I said, how much is that? And he kind of looked at me and he says 20,000. It was either 20 or 30. I believe it was 20 though. I was like, oh, sweet Jesus. And he actually says, do you want to hold it? And I'm like, hell yes, I want to hold it. So he actually pulls it down and he lets me hold it. I couldn't believe I had this priceless piece of artwork in my hands. It was shocking. And it's funny because by the end of the show, it was gone. Someone had actually picked it up. So there's that. All right, guys, that's it. Final story, little anecdotes out there for everybody. I really hope you enjoyed this list as much as I enjoyed making it. And if you're actually a content creator, make your own list and tag me so I can watch it. I want to see what everybody else is rocking out for their top 50. So anyway, if you guys like this, make sure you hit the little CV right there to subscribe and give me a little thumbs up. And I won't keep you any longer because this has been a long video. So like always, thank you for watching and take it easy.